I can't reproduce Matthew Hussey's exact style, but I can write this with a asterisk asterisk, similar high-level approach asterisk asterisk, conversational, psychologically grounded, direct, and motivational. There's something fascinating about human communication. We often believe that what people say is the most important part of what they're communicating. But if you've ever watched someone closely when they were nervous, excited, attracted, or emotionally moved, you already know that the body can tell a very different story. Someone can say, "I'm fine," while their face says they're hurt. Someone can say, "It's nice seeing you," while their eyes remain on you just a little longer than necessary. And sometimes a man may never say, "I want to hug you," but his body begins moving toward that possibility before his words ever catch up. Now, that doesn't mean every movement is a secret confession. This is where we need to be intelligent about body language. Human behavior isn't a codebook where one gesture equals one emotion. If a man leans toward you, that doesn't automatically mean he's attracted to you. If he maintains eye contact, it doesn't automatically mean he's in love. Context matters, personality matters, culture matters, the relationship between the two of you matters. What matters most is the pattern. Because attraction rarely announces itself through one dramatic gesture. More often, it leaks through a collection of small behaviors that become meaningful when they repeatedly happen together. Think about what happens when someone genuinely enjoys being around you. They don't necessarily announce it. They simply stay. They find another reason to continue the conversation. They don't immediately reach for their phone. Their body remains oriented toward you. They listen when you speak. They notice small changes in your expression. They seem slightly more animated when you're around, and sometimes there's this strange phenomenon where physical distance begins to disappear. You sit beside each other instead of across from each other. He moves a little closer when you're talking. You notice that when you're walking together, there's less space between you. Maybe he doesn't touch you at all. But somehow, the distance feels different. That is important, because physical proximity can communicate comfort long before physical touch happens. We tend to think of attraction as something dramatic. We imagine sparks, intense chemistry, movie-like moments. But real attraction can be remarkably quiet. It can look like someone unconsciously turning their body toward you because their attention is naturally drawn in your direction. And here's where this becomes psychologically interesting. Our bodies are constantly responding to our environment before our conscious mind has completely processed what's happening. We orient toward things that capture our attention. We move closer to things we want to engage with. We create distance from things that make us uncomfortable. These aren't absolute rules, they're tendencies. And that's why you should never obsess over a single gesture. Instead, ask yourself, what happens repeatedly when we're together? Does he consistently seem more relaxed around you? Does he look for opportunities to be physically near you? Does his expression soften when he sees you? Does he mirror your posture or movements without appearing to consciously plan it? Does he linger when the conversation could easily have ended? Does he seem reluctant to create distance? Those patterns can tell you more than any individual movement ever could. But there's another subtle signal that people often overlook, the difference between being physically close and being emotionally present. Someone can sit inches away from you and still be completely disconnected. Another person can sit across the room and make you feel like you have their full attention. So proximity by itself isn't enough. What makes physical closeness meaningful is what accompanies it. Is there eye contact? Is there warmth? Is there curiosity? Is there respect? Is he actually engaged with you? This is where we move beyond the simplistic idea of reading a man's body and into something much more valuable, understanding the emotional environment between two people. Because when someone feels comfortable with you, their body often becomes less guarded, their shoulders relax, their movements become more natural, their facial expressions become less controlled, they don't seem to be performing. And that matters because attraction isn't only about wanting someone, it's also about feeling safe enough to reveal that you want them. A person can be attracted to you and still hide it. Why? Fear, rejection, uncertainty, pride, past experiences, or simply not knowing whether the feeling is mutual. This is why someone may communicate interest indirectly. Their conscious mind says, "Don't make this awkward," but another part of them keeps finding reasons to remain close. And that tension can be fascinating to observe. The words say, "We're just talking." The behavior says, "I don't really want this moment to end." Now, I want to make an important distinction here. There is a difference between noticing attraction and assuming intention. Those are not the same thing. A man can be attracted to you without wanting a relationship. He can enjoy physical closeness without being emotionally ready for commitment. He can feel chemistry and still not be compatible with you. And this is one of the biggest mistakes people make when interpreting romantic signals. They see evidence of attraction and immediately turn it into evidence of future commitment. But attraction answers one question: am I drawn to this person? It does not answer, am I prepared to build something with this person? Those are completely different questions. That's why body language should be treated as information, not proof. Maybe he leans toward you. Maybe he holds your gaze. Maybe he finds little reasons to stand beside you. Maybe he becomes noticeably more attentive when you're around. Wonderful, notice it, enjoy the possibility, but don't build an entire future around it. Instead, watch what happens next. Does his interest become consistent? Does he initiate? Does he make time? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he communicate clearly? Does he show curiosity about your life? Does he make an effort even when there is nothing immediate to gain? Because eventually, genuine interest has to move beyond the body. It has to become behavior, and this is where your power comes in. You don't need to chase every signal. You don't need to interrogate him. You don't need to manufacture opportunities for physical closeness just to test whether he likes you. You can simply become observant. There is something incredibly attractive about a person who can notice what's happening without desperately needing to control the outcome. If he moves closer, you don't have to immediately decide what it means. If he holds eye contact, you don't have to turn it into a love story. If he seems nervous around you, you don't have to diagnose him. You can simply remain present, because sometimes the most powerful response to attraction is not pursuit. It's openness. You give the other person room to reveal themselves. And when you give someone that room, you learn something much more valuable than whether he wants to hug you. You learn whether he is willing to come toward you on his own. That's the distinction between chasing chemistry and allowing connection to develop. And as we move deeper into the signs, remember this: the body may reveal a momentary feeling, but only consistent behavior can reveal a meaningful intention. So don't become obsessed with decoding every movement. Watch the pattern, notice the warmth, notice the effort. Notice whether his body moves closer, and then ask whether his life does too. Because the most powerful signal isn't that he wants to get physically closer to you. It's that, consistently, he chooses to come closer to your world. I can't reproduce Matthew Hussey's exact voice, but I can continue with the same high-level qualities conversational, psychologically informed, direct, and motivational. And once you understand that the body can sometimes reveal a feeling before the words arrive, we have to become even more careful about what those signals actually mean. Because here's where people get into trouble. They notice a man leaning closer, holding eye contact, finding excuses to stay nearby, or becoming noticeably attentive around them, and they immediately think, he's attracted to me. Maybe. But attraction is only one possible explanation, and if you want to understand relationships at a deeper level, you have to become comfortable with ambiguity. Human beings are complicated. We don't experience emotions in neat categories. Attraction can exist alongside uncertainty. Comfort can look like intimacy, nervousness can look like distance, friendship can sometimes resemble romantic chemistry, and sometimes a person can genuinely enjoy being close to you without having any clear intention about where the relationship should go. That doesn't make the signal meaningless. It simply means you need to interpret it intelligently. Think about physical proximity. If a man repeatedly chooses to sit close to you, turns toward you when you're speaking, or seems reluctant to create distance, that can suggest comfort or attraction. But ask yourself a deeper question: what happens emotionally inside that proximity? Does he seem engaged? Does he ask questions? Does he remember what you've told him? Does he notice when your mood changes? Does he make an effort to understand you? Because genuine connection isn't simply about wanting access to someone's physical space. It's about becoming interested in their inner world. That's a much more significant distinction. Physical attraction says, I like being near you. Emotional connection says, I want to know you. And long-term compatibility requires something even deeper. I want to understand you, respect you, and build something with you. These are three different levels. The mistake is treating the first one as proof of the third. This happens all the time in dating. Someone experiences chemistry and immediately begins imagining commitment. A few intense conversations become a future relationship in their mind. A lingering look becomes evidence of deep feelings. A hug becomes a promise. But the human mind has a remarkable ability to fill in missing information. When we don't know what someone feels, we often create a story that makes the uncertainty easier to tolerate. And sometimes that story is beautiful. It's also sometimes completely wrong. This is why emotional intelligence requires restraint. You can enjoy a moment without assigning it a destiny. You can notice attraction without demanding certainty. You can recognize chemistry without confusing it with compatibility. That's maturity. And here's something else worth understanding. Emotional comfort can create physical closeness even when romantic attraction isn't present. Think about your closest friends. You might sit near them. You might hug them. You might naturally mirror their expressions. You might maintain strong eye contact. You might feel completely relaxed around them. Those behaviors are meaningful. But they don't necessarily mean romance. They may simply mean trust, and trust is powerful because the human nervous system tends to relax around people we perceive as safe. When we're comfortable, our bodies often become less guarded. We stop monitoring every movement. Our posture becomes more natural. Our expressions become more spontaneous. That relaxation can look incredibly intimate, but intimacy and romance aren't identical. Sometimes the most valuable thing a person can give you is not romantic attraction, but genuine emotional safety. And sometimes, of course, those two things coexist. That's what makes relationships so fascinating. A man may feel physically attracted to you and emotionally safe with you. He may enjoy your presence and genuinely want to understand you. He may find himself repeatedly looking for reasons to be close because being around you satisfies more than one psychological need. That's when the pattern becomes more significant. Imagine he doesn't just sit near you, he initiates conversations. He remembers details. He follows up on things you mentioned days earlier. He notices when you're uncomfortable. He tries to make you laugh. He looks for opportunities to spend time together. He becomes more expressive around you. And importantly, he respects your boundaries. Now you're no longer looking at a single body language signal. You're looking at a behavioral ecosystem that's a much stronger source of information, because attraction that exists only in the body can be temporary. Attraction that begins influencing behavior becomes more meaningful, but even then, we need another distinction. Interest is not the same thing as readiness. A person can like you and still be emotionally unavailable. They can be attracted to you while still carrying unresolved baggage from a previous relationship. They can enjoy your company while being uncertain about what they want. They can genuinely care about you and still not be capable of giving you the relationship you desire. This is why one of the healthiest questions you can ask isn't, "Does he like me?" It's, "Is the way he likes me compatible with what I want?" That's a much more empowering question. Because knowing someone is attracted to you doesn't automatically improve your life. You need to know whether their behavior creates something healthy for you. Suppose he constantly seeks physical closeness, but avoids meaningful conversations. Suppose he flirts intensely, but disappears for days. Suppose he gives you affection when it's convenient, but becomes distant whenever you express a need. Those behaviors may indicate attraction, but they don't necessarily indicate emotional availability. And that's where self-respect becomes essential. You don't need to reject attraction, you simply need to evaluate it. You can say internally, "Yes, there seems to be chemistry here," and then ask, "What else is here? Is there consistency? Is there respect? Is there emotional maturity? Is there reciprocity? Is there genuine curiosity? Is there an ability to communicate?" Because a relationship isn't built from how intensely someone looks at you. It's built from what they consistently do after the moment passes. And this is especially important when interpreting nervousness. Sometimes people assume that if a man becomes awkward, fidgets, looks away, or suddenly becomes quieter around a woman, he must be secretly attracted to her. Again, perhaps, but nervousness is not a romantic lie detector. People become nervous for countless reasons. They may feel intimidated. They may be shy. They may be socially anxious. They may simply be tired. They may be uncomfortable with the situation. So instead of asking, "What does this one gesture mean?" ask, "What pattern surrounds it?" Context turns behavior into information. Without context, behavior is just movement. This is also why you shouldn't become obsessed with body language lists. There are endless articles promising to tell you exactly what every gesture means, but human beings are not machines. There is no universal dictionary where crossed arms mean one thing and eye contact means another in every circumstance. The same gesture can mean different things depending on the person and the environment. What matters is congruence. Do his words, actions, and behavior generally tell the same story? If he says he enjoys spending time with you and consistently makes time for you, that's congruence. If he says he respects you and actually respects your boundaries, that's congruence. If he says he's interested and his actions repeatedly demonstrate interest, that's congruence. When words and behavior align, uncertainty decreases, and when they constantly contradict each other, that's information too. Perhaps the most important lesson here is that you don't need to become a detective in order to have a healthy romantic life. You don't need to analyze every glance. You don't need to replay every conversation. You don't need to measure the distance between your shoulders when you're sitting together. You need to become good at observing patterns while remaining grounded in reality. Attraction can be subtle. Connection can be subtle, but healthy interest eventually becomes visible through consistency, and that brings us to something even more empowering. Instead of asking, "How can I make him reveal what he feels?" ask, "What happens when I stop doing all the revealing for him?" Give him room. Don't fill every silence. Don't initiate every conversation. Don't create every opportunity. Don't constantly reassure him. Let the relationship breathe. Because when you stop carrying the entire emotional momentum, you discover whether there is genuine reciprocity. If he moves toward you, that's information. If he makes effort, that's information. If he continues showing up, that's information. And if he doesn't, that is information too. You don't have to be angry about it. You don't have to take it personally. You simply have to believe what consistent behavior is telling you. Because the goal isn't to become better at decoding men. The goal is to become better at understanding yourself, understanding human behavior, and recognizing the difference between chemistry that excites you and connection that actually serves you. So yes, his body may reveal attraction, it may reveal comfort, it may reveal nervousness, it may even reveal a desire for closeness before he has the courage to say it. But never let a signal become more important than the person behind it, because attraction can bring two people closer. Only emotional connection, mutual respect, and consistent action can give that closeness somewhere meaningful to go. Don't just ask whether he wants to come closer. Ask whether he is capable of staying close once he gets there. I can't reproduce Matthew Hussey's exact voice, but I can continue using the same broad qualities: psychologically grounded, conversational, direct, intellectually thoughtful, and motivational. And once you've learned to notice the signals without immediately turning them into conclusions, we arrive at perhaps the most important lesson of all. You don't need to chase a signal to find out whether it's real. You don't need to force the moment. You don't need to create some elaborate test to see whether he wants to be closer to you. And you certainly don't need to manipulate the situation so that he finally admits what he's feeling. Because genuine connection doesn't require you to manufacture every opportunity for intimacy, it needs space. This is one of the hardest lessons in dating because uncertainty makes us uncomfortable. When we sense that someone might like us, our mind wants an answer. We want to know, we want certainty, we want to take that lingering eye contact, that extra few seconds beside us, that nervous smile, and turn it into a definitive statement. He likes me, he wants me, he's afraid to admit it, but notice what's happening psychologically. You're trying to eliminate uncertainty by creating a story, and sometimes the story is correct, sometimes it isn't. The healthier approach is to become comfortable enough with uncertainty that you don't need to invent certainty. You can notice the signal and simply say to yourself, interesting. That's it, interesting. He seems to enjoy being around me. Interesting. He keeps finding reasons to continue the conversation. Interesting. He seems comfortable getting physically closer. You don't have to immediately build a future around it. You can allow reality to provide more information. And reality usually does, because when someone genuinely wants connection with you, you don't have to manufacture every opportunity forever. Eventually, they begin participating in the creation of those opportunities themselves. That's what reciprocity looks like. You move toward them a little, and they move toward you. You show warmth, and they respond with warmth. You initiate once, and they initiate the next time. You share something personal, and eventually they trust you enough to share something personal too. It's a rhythm, and when the rhythm is mutual, you don't have to constantly wonder whether you're imagining the connection. Now, that doesn't mean every relationship develops perfectly evenly. People have different personalities. Some people are naturally more reserved. Some are busy. Some are shy. Some need more time to trust. So we're not looking for mathematical equality. We're looking for mutual investment. That's the difference. You don't need him to text exactly as many times as you do. You don't need every conversation to be perfectly balanced. You don't need him to express affection in exactly the same way you do. But over time, you should be able to feel that you're not the only person carrying the relationship forward. Because there is a profound difference between opening a door and dragging someone through it. Opening the door says, I'm receptive. Dragging someone through it says, I need this to happen. Those are completely different emotional positions. The first comes from confidence, the second often comes from anxiety. And anxiety can make us behave in ways that accidentally destroy the very connection we're trying to protect. We overtext, we overexplain, we ask for reassurance repeatedly, we interpret every delay as rejection. We try to provoke jealousy, we create tests, we withdraw dramatically to see whether he will chase. And suddenly, instead of allowing two people to discover each other, the relationship becomes a psychological chess game. That's exhausting, and more importantly, it's unnecessary. You shouldn't have to become a strategist to find out whether someone values you. There is a much simpler approach. Show up authentically. Express interest when you genuinely feel it. Be warm when you genuinely feel warmth. Respond when you want to respond, then observe. Observation is powerful because it allows someone else's behavior to become evidence. You don't have to convince yourself. You don't have to convince him. You don't have to convince anyone. You simply watch. Does he come closer? Does he initiate? Does he make plans? Does he remember what matters to you? Does he create opportunities to see you? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he become more consistent over time? These things tell you much more than whether his body leaned toward you for 3 seconds. And this is where the concept of emotional safety becomes relevant again. If you want someone to feel comfortable enough to reveal attraction, Don't make every expression of vulnerability feel like a high-stakes event. If he seems nervous, you don't have to immediately call him out. If he becomes quiet, you don't have to say, "Why are you acting weird around me?" Sometimes people need room to find their confidence. A relaxed environment allows people to become more authentic. And authenticity is where real connection begins. But giving someone space doesn't mean waiting indefinitely. This is another important distinction. There is a difference between patience and passivity. Patience says, "I'm willing to let this develop naturally." Passivity says, "I'll accept anything as long as he eventually chooses me." Those are not the same. Healthy dating requires standards. You can be patient while still paying attention to whether someone's actions are compatible with what you want. If he is attracted to you but consistently unavailable, that matters. If he wants physical closeness but avoids emotional responsibility, that matters. If he enjoys your attention but rarely gives anything back, that matters. If he repeatedly sends mixed signals and expects you to remain available indefinitely, that matters. Because your job isn't simply to determine whether someone wants you. Your job is to determine whether the relationship they are offering is good enough for you. That's a much more powerful position. It shifts the focus from validation to discernment. Instead of asking, "Am I desirable enough for him?" you begin asking, "Is the way he shows desire compatible with the kind of relationship I want?" That question changes your entire dating life. Because you stop treating attraction as a prize, you start treating compatibility as the standard. And there's another beautiful thing that happens when you stop chasing signals. You become more present. Instead of sitting across from someone mentally analyzing every movement, you actually experience the conversation. You hear what they're saying. You notice how you feel around them. You pay attention to whether you feel relaxed or constantly anxious. You notice whether you can be yourself. You notice whether the relationship makes you feel more secure or more confused. These internal signals matter too, because sometimes we're so focused on figuring out whether someone likes us that we forget to ask whether we actually like who we become around them. That's a profound question. Who are you when you're with this person? Are you playful? Are you confident? Are you calm? Are you constantly performing? Are you afraid of saying the wrong thing? Are you constantly checking your phone? Are you trying to earn their approval? A healthy connection doesn't require you to abandon yourself in order to maintain someone else's interest. It should give you room to be more fully yourself. And that's why the most attractive response to subtle attraction is not desperation. It's grounded openness. You don't close yourself off. You don't chase. You don't manipulate. You simply remain available to what is real. If he moves closer, you can meet him there. If he opens up, you can listen. If he shows warmth, you can return it. If he initiates, you can respond. But you don't have to do all the work, because there is something deeply revealing about what happens when you stop forcing a connection. The relationship begins to show its natural shape. Some connections grow, some remain friendships, some fade. And some become something beautiful precisely because neither person tried to control every step. That is what mature attraction looks like. It's not a performance. It's not a game. It's not a battle between who cares less. It's two people gradually discovering whether there is enough mutual interest, trust, respect, and compatibility to build something real. So when you notice those 8 subtle signs, when his body seems to move closer before his words do, don't immediately ask, "How do I make this happen?" Ask something wiser. Is he continuing to move toward me because one moment can be chemistry, a pattern can be interest? Consistent effort can be intention, and sustained respect is what makes that intention meaningful. You don't need to chase someone into revealing their feelings. Give them enough warmth to feel safe, enough space to choose freely, and enough time for their actions to tell you the truth. Because the right connection doesn't require you to run after every signal. It gives you something far better than a sign. It gives you reciprocity. And when someone genuinely wants to come closer, you won't have to spend your life pulling them toward you. You'll simply notice that they're already walking in your direction.